Welcome to Hubris, Twilight of the Hellenistic World, 220 to 165 BCE. Well, it's a board game. I'm running it in Vassal, so we're not going to have much in terms of sound effects or music. That's going to be a bit of a challenge when I'll try to synchronize the video and commentary. But I'll see what I can do. I have ideas. So here's our map. Loading slowly, as is the Vassal way. And as for what this game is all about, I'm going to start by reading the back of the box. Well, I won't read everything from the back of the box, because it goes on for 3 paragraphs, and we only need 1. So, the year is 220 BCE. The world created by Alexander the Great is dominated by 3 dynasties descended from his companions, the successors. All 3 kingdoms are led by new young kings dreaming of reuniting his empire, though they have come to power in contrasting circumstances. The kingdom of the Ptolemies, built on the unparalleled wealth of Egypt, rules the seas, but is plagued by ferocious court intrigues and a growing discontent among the native population. The kingdom of Macedon is on the ascendant again, but must deal with the growing power and assertiveness of the Greek cities grouped in federal leagues. The immense Seleucid kingdom reels from one rebellion to another, with an overabundance of talented but ambitious princes and hungry neighbors. Meanwhile, beyond the western fringes of the civilized world, a titanic struggle is about to resume between the rising power of the Roman Republic and the resurgent strength of the city of Carthage, with their new brilliant commander in Spain, Hannibal, a struggle whose outcome few imagined could change the world so decisively. So that is our situation. It's actually even more complicated than it is. Normally this is a 3-player game, but I will be using the game's own solitaire system, which is like a bot with flowcharts and priority tables, and I've done one game with it, and it does apply enough of somewhat painful pressure and unexpected complications. So, I will be playing as the Blues, the Ptolemies. We'll see. Actually, I have the pronunciation guide from the game's companion book open right here, and bookmarked just in case I lose it. The companion book itself, with all the historical details, is about 68 pages thick. The main rulebook is 52 pages, and the solitaire rules are another 12. But there was also a learn-to-play book. Generally, the game is not that difficult, except you have to remember all the exceptions, which is where it gets you. So let's hope I don't forget. Just in case, this Vassal module does come with a few player aid cards, so if I forget how some particular procedure is supposed to be carried out, I can look it up here without referring to the main rules. That should be helpful. Anyway, I won't be starting with explaining what the situation with the Ptolemies is. We'll start with our other rivals, our bots. And let's start here with Macedon. I'll also just explain some of the game's concepts. So Macedon is our red faction. They're here in... Right, how do I pronounce this? This is supposed to be pronounced Macedonia. Right, so first of all, this shield. The areas in the game are called satrapies, and they have these shields with numbers in colorful frames. These are the victory points that either of the, any of the 3 players will get for controlling this particular satrapy. And there are two figures. The smaller one is for partial control. So, say, in case of Macedonia, controlling only 2 of these places. And the larger number is for controlling every single place in this province. The same goes for the number next to the money, the coin. That is how much money you're going to be making from this province when it's time to get taxes at the start of the turn. Next, well, we have 3 places in this satrapy, and they are all cities. Square, we have these square frames, and they're all subject cities. This needs some explanation. But basically, there are subject places. There are 2 kinds of places in the game in general. There are cities, which are squares, and tribes, which are circles. Note that Sparta is a tribe. Spartans apparently are tribal, but maybe they're just how they operate politically. Anyway, so when these cities or tribes have a silver frame, they are subject places. They have no tradition of self-governance. They have no own foreign policy. So the only way you can get them to your side is by sending an army and beating the crap out of everyone here, subjugating tribes or sieging cities, and then you ally with the tribes after beating them thoroughly, or you place a garrison in a subject city, and that's how you make it your own. Then there are places with the golden fringe, and they are free cities, free tribes. They can actually be talked to. There is this symbol of a rod, which I believe symbolizes the envoy operation. You can send envoys to these places, and you can ally with them diplomatically. And a free city can be swung to your side by just a very talkative guy. Or you can still besiege them, you can take the city by force, and then place an alliance instead of a garrison, if you feel like it. Which I'm not sure you'd want to, but that is an option. Generally, allying with places is easier if you can do it, because for an alliance, to send an envoy, all you need to do is have one of places aligned with you in an adjacent satrapy, so it's allying envoys have a bigger reach. And if you want to garrison someplace, if you want to besiege someplace, well, you have to march an army there, and that is the single most expensive thing in this game. Maybe the second single most expensive thing, but it's very pricey. Also, of course, Macedon, specifically, uniquely, has to deal with Greeks. All of these places, they're golden fringe, but the names of the places are in blue. Well, they're white on blue. These are Greek places, and they have their own special rule in that if you try to put a garrison in a Greek place, all of the other Greek places in this particular satrapy that are allied with you are going to stop being on your side. They won't attack you, but they will. They will stop being your friends. You'll lose the alignment markers. So ideally, Macedon will probably want to be diplomatic here in the Peloponnesus, except for all the parts when some kind of rebellion breaks out and they have to send an army, which is going to happen more often than they'd prefer. What else is happening? Oh yes, what's important for Macedon is that really a lot of the victory points Macedon needs to win can be just received by taking their immediate surroundings, like these areas, like Illyria, Macedonia. How do I pronounce this? Actually, I should look it up. The pronunciation guide is 2.5 pages. So yes, it's okay. Thessalia. Wait, yes, Thessalia. Thessalia is a very important place, yeah, 4 victory points. And of course there is wait, move away. Yes, this place. Okay, which is apparently pronounced Peloponnesos. Yeah, some of these words, if you're trying to pronounce them in Greek, or as the game helpfully explains, Greek, as explained for the Americans, pronunciation US English. Some of these places have stress in unexpected places. So Peloponnesus is one of the places that Macedon is going to be very much interested in keeping in its sphere of influence. At least controlling. At least partially. Yes, and if they do, they might win, because the game does have a chart for historical scores of all the three factions, and the thing about the historical result of Macedon is that by the final turn, its score is 0 on account of being conquered by Rome. But if Macedon avoids this, which is what happened in my solo campaign, it might just win by holding on to this land. But of course, Macedon, apart from all of this stuff, Macedon has to deal with this neighbor, this heel sticking out on the side of the map, that's Italy. So at the moment, Rome is going to be fairly peaceful because, well, first of all, the Romans are primarily interested, they have full war against Illyria, this place, which I believe is just a Roman campaign, special military operation to fight the Illyrian pirates. That's all they're here for. Also, at the moment, they are not even fighting that war. Rome is, as we can see, on the Roman belligerence chart, Rome is at peace, so they're not actually going to be doing anything, they're just chilling. But Rome is also not quite at the point of the Second Punic War, it's just getting ready. But it might start. It will start at some point. And that is going to give us some breather, because while the war is going on, Rome cannot really operate with any strength here. It might, but it won't do much. And Macedon does have an opportunity to complicate that war for Romans. But if they do, I don't think Rome is going to appreciate that. Also, important thing about Greece, just general area, Greece, Macedon, these unit counters, these round unit counters with a coin on them, these are mercenaries, and every turn will start with an auction for these guys. And they're very, very useful, oddly enough for us. But we'll get to that in a moment. So that is Macedon. They have this small area they're very concerned about, and lots of Greek to manage. Lots of Greek cities to manage. They're probably going to be breaking away from their control all the time. Next we have the Yellows, the Seleucids, who have a lot of territories that do not amount to much. Look at this. How do I say this? Of course, it's Cappadocia. Right, Cappadocia, yes, it brings Seleucids only one coin. Coin does not matter for the bots, they do not track money. But it also earns Seleucids half a victory point. What a steal. And they have other places like Pontus, which can earn you from 0 to half a victory point. That's not exactly useful. Oh, by the way, Cappadocia is a good illustration for another thing. This place belongs to Seleucids through the majority of alliances. And that is a problem, because if most places in a satrapy are allied with you, if they're not your subjects, if you're too friendly with them, that means you get only half the taxes from the place. Because, hey, they don't owe you that much, they're just your friends, but they're not going to go out of the way to pay all their money to you. So yeah, this, in reality, if Seleucid was a player, Cappadocia would be earning them half a victory point, and only half a coin. Unless, one of these places decided to break free, and then Seleucids decided to garrison it. Except, of course, this figure next to is it a horse? Is it a camel? What is it? Some kind of animal carrying things. Anyway, 4 is the price of bringing a single unit into this province. for a military campaign. And it earns... how much? Yeah, it can earn at best 1. So yeah, sending one group of guys here means you won't make that money here. Even if you succeed, you won't be making that money back for 4 turns. Is it worth it? Or, like, this place? Second. Obviously. Atropatene. Atropatene is... it costs 8 to send a unit here, and it gives you a victory point. Anyway, so yeah, Seleucids are surrounded by terrible, terrible land. They're not very good with money, because they won't be getting much money. But they do have something they may be interested in, and that is Bactra. I think that's how we say it. Anyway, it's the city of Bactra. Or satrapy of Bactriane, because it earns a money. It has 2 victory points, it earns a money, and it's right here at the corner of the map. No other player is going to be able to reach this place. So obviously there is a catch. The catch is that there are random events which will flip this place from your control. And it's not going to be enjoyable. Also, to get to this place, you have to go through... the book is very inconvenient. Oh yes, you have to go to Partiene, which itself doesn't earn you much. But the biggest problem is this. The two places, a tribe and a city, which have this nice green flag on them. Actually, we have seen some places with flags on them here in Greece, and that means that these places are associated with minor units. And if you ally with these places, you get that unit under your control. For example, here in the starting situation, I have Spartans because I have an allied... flip. Yes, I have a Spartan unit because I have an ally marker on Sparta, and Macedon has... give me a sec. Achaeans, I think. Yes, has the Achaeans unit because because Macedon is allied both with Achaia and Megalopolis. Hey, I actually pronounced it right. Right. Good. Yes, so if you garrison any of these places, the unit is not available. Also, if you try to attack these places, yes, this unit appears and you have to fight it. So, going back to Partiene, these places are subject places. You cannot do diplomacy with them, but they still have these minor units, and the only reason for it is that if you want to take them, you want to attack them, you have to go through the unit that defends them, which is going to respawn every turn until you subjugate these places. That is the Parthians, and it happens to be... give me a second. Flip. Yeah, it has a golden fringe near its name. The unit is elite, meaning it's going to hurt. Also, it's harder to kill than usual units, and it's more likely to hit in combat. So, the Seleucid king may have some issues here. In fact, I think in my solo campaign, Seleucids repeatedly tried to campaign here to get to Bactra, and they just got owned by Parthians over and over again to the point that the king's renown, which the king is supposed to earn or lose for winning or losing battles, yeah, so the king's renown was negative, and that ended up becoming a negative victory points for the Seleucid player. So, be careful here in the mountains. Also, yes, how could I forget? This situation. In Lydia, how do we say this? Of course, Lydia, Phrygia. Yes, Lydia, Phrygia. These places have yellow markers, but they have a red stripe across them. These are rebels, and specifically these are rebels led by this guy, Achaeos, who is technically in line for the throne. This mark on his card shows us he's 7th in line for the throne, So if the king of Seleucids somehow dies, this guy might actually inherit and end the rebellion, but that's unlikely. More likely is that someone is going to have to fight a very long campaign to take all of these provinces. But of course, Lydia Phrygia has this unit, which is a local, a local unit, which the rebel is going to be using for defense every turn something happens. So yeah, Seleucids have a tough situation. Lots of land, difficult to defend, and rebellions happening all the time. And finally, this brings us to us, which is blue, this area. Wait, this unit should not be here. This unit is only activated by an event. Or not an event, but like I have to take an action to make this unit appear. So, this way. Should work like this. We have a bunch of provinces, which are the single richest provinces in the entire game, like Delta. Brings us 18 money for full control. And, wait, how do I correctly say this incorrectly? Thebais. Okay, Thebais. Thebais is also pretty lucrative. And then we have... Oh no. No. Coelisyria. Coelisyria is also earning us tons of cash and victory points. Plus, we have one well-defended city stuck right in the middle of Seleucus. Or most likely, wait a sec. Yes, of course, I thought so. Seleucus. And also we have Kypros. We have a range of allies and even a few subject cities here, not subject, garrison cities, all the way to Thrace. This is very important for us, actually, because normally the units I can use in battles, I mean, okay, we have a fleet, we can build ships, we have 3 ships on the map at the start, 3 fleets, and we can use them for all kinds of silly things. Generally, for example, if a fleet is present near a ship if a fleet is present near a city, a coastal city that the enemy is trying to besiege, the city becomes twice as hard. Like, they need to score 2 hits against the city to conquer it. So we do want to keep all of our ships here. They are our insurance against funny business from the Seleucids, at least. Thing is, when it comes to land units, we have one unit here, which I don't believe I have the pronunciation guide for. No, I do not, so let's just hope that the Delta guys, the original Delta guys, yes, this is our only unit we can raise if we need to muster forces. And of course we have the Royal Army. Every king in the game has a Royal Army. The thing is, the Seleucid Royal Army is an elite unit. Macedon Royal Army is an elite unit. Our Royal Army is a regular unit. It's garbage. It's exactly the same as just random guys we found in the Delta. So, it's not going to help much. Also, this is literally all the forces we get natively. 2 small armies of dubious quality. Meanwhile, Seleucids have their Royal Army, and 1, 2, and possibly 3 if they deal with a rebel. So, our way, the only way we can actually defend ourselves, defend our most profitable provinces, is by buying mercenaries all the way here. So, this is our money engine. We earn all the money here, and we spend it all on dudes here in Greece and in Macedon. And this is why it's important for us to maintain the presence all the way here in Sparta, maybe, and all of these islands, because we cannot just hire a mercenary unit by staying here in the Delta. Mercenaries can only be bid on by players who have some presence in the satrapies that the mercenary icon, this place, has arrows to. So here, okay, we are doing pretty well. The Sparta allows us to bid on Arcadians. If we lose Sparta, we cannot bid on them. Our dudes here allow us to bid on the Illyrians. If they were to go away, we lose the access to those mercenaries. And it's really bad for us. Also, we'll have to maintain a presence, in terms of just ports, because you have to have a path of non-enemy spaces from the place where you get the mercenaries to the place where you want to deploy them. Either non-enemy spaces or friendly seas, and what makes a sea friendly is just your port somewhere in this area. So all of this is actually really, really precious if we want to maintain our heartland over here. But that is just the map, because this game also has characters, as I've shown you. We have a bunch of different dudes. For example, this is the Macedon court. It has their king. What's his name? Philippos V. And all of the other characters are called friends. And one of these friends is the chief minister. So the king and the friends, they have different ratings. They are rated here, this icon with a flag. Next to it, we have their ratings for battle or subjugation attempts, and their siege rating. Then we have their diplomatic rating, when you're using them as envoy. Then there is their admin rating, which is usually used for raising taxes. Raising taxes can be potentially fatal, but let's not think about that. Then we have their loyalty, which is usually important when we're checking whether some general is going to rebel. And their intrigue rating, which is useful for the intrigue in court. It's very useful to have high intrigue on your king, but everyone else is, well, you don't want that. But sometimes, yes, it's useful when we're here. Also, yes, Philippos has a bit of a situation at court, because, what's his name? Apelles. Yes, Apelles, let's look at his stats. Well, not even his stats, his specific abilities. When he's king, right, his intrigue is 4 instead of printed 3, and he's removing 4 talents from Macedon's treasury on each turn after tax revenue. This guy's stealing money from the Macedon treasury. Also, while he's chief minister, at the start of the game, Philippos can use his Winter Campaign special ability. Yes, his Winter Campaign special ability is that he can just do a sudden military campaign at the very end of the turn. Even if he's spent. Spent means this. Every single time you use a character for something, this character is... physically, you turn the card 90 degrees. When you turn it upside down on the second use, the character is spent. So this guy can do 2 things per turn, and then do something else, another winter campaign. So very useful, but not for as long as Apelles is in play. Then we have a bunch of guys, 2 of whom are from Apelles' clique, and they will be removed from the game if Apelles is gone somehow unnaturally. There's one good thing here is that Alexandros here is a bodyguard, so he is going to protect the king for as long as he himself is alive. And also there is this guy, Aratos, who is not himself a particularly good... I mean, he's a good envoy, but he can only do this in 2 satrapies, which is kinda useful. Also, he's not from the Macedon court, he is a character from an ally, specifically. He is going to be with the court only for as long as Macedon has alliances both in Achaia and Megalopolis. So if he goes away, Philippos is going to lose... There's bones to his stats. Right, so we have this rebel, and at the Seleucid court we have only 3 guys, and they all have military rating, meaning they all can be used for war. They have 1 good diplomat. What's his name? Zeuxis, who happens to be the chief minister. And as for their admin rating, well, they're actually pretty good at this. Now, also, we see this thing here, that is, this token means 1 point of renown, so Antiochos III... am I saying this right? Antiochos III. His military fame is giving an extra victory point to his side. And if he dies, you halve the king's renown, and then it's added to the dynastic VP, which stays with you for the end of the game. So that's cool. You absolutely do not want to have renown on friends, on all these other generals, because there is, see the small icon with minus renown near the character's loyalty rating. The more famous a general is, the more likely they are to rebel. So if you send some guy to sort your shit out for you, just like in the field, instead of sending the king, there is a chance that guy will stop listening to your orders and just take the satrapy for himself, and you'll have a whole rebellion to enjoy. So overall, Antiochos has a fairly small and tranquil court, and that is only because we are playing with a historical start. The game has an alternative starting position, where the king is actually this guy, but one of the first acts, well, actually not the first act, he wasn't the king then, but Antiochos killed his brother, and that's how he became king. So the alternative setup makes that guy king, and that guy possibly chief minister. I have not checked up the alternative setup, but hey, this is another guy who's stealing from the Seleucid treasury. So that's going to be that's not the thing that's going to happen. Instead, we'll see some other characters, and Seleucids are going to enjoy brief periods of peace and conquest. And then we have our court. Oh boy. So here is our king, who is Ptolemaios IV Philopator, and his main stat is that he's lazy, meaning he can only do 1 thing per turn. Also, this icon here, we saw this, the other version of this icon on Antiochos. We are at war with Seleucids at the start of the game, which is really bad because that halves our tax income. Also, just war is not very nice. But fortunately, wars tend to end. Like, they end on a die roll at the end of the turn, so it will probably end. And then we'll have peace, though it should be noted that peace only lasts, like, all wars and peace are between the kings, not between states. Nation-states haven't been invented yet. So when our king dies, war and peace, they're going to end. Also, we don't have particularly good stats. In addition to our royal army being shit, we have only 3 rating in battle, which means our units hit on die rolls of 1, 2, and 3 on a d6. We're terrible at sieges, we're not very good with diplomacy, we are so-so at admin. At least we're loyal, but I don't think the loyalty is ever checked for the king. And we're not very good at intrigue. Fortunately, we are shielded from a lot of problems by our chief minister, Sosibios. Am I pronouncing it right? Sosibios, okay, Sosibios. Yes, he's got good diplomacy, he's got good admin, he is pretty cool, and also, this guy can pay some money to activate that unit I just removed from here, to make it available for recruitment. Forever, or until a random event takes it out of the game. Then we have this guy who is completely useless. How do I say this? Agathocles, yes. So, he can't do anything, except for the part that while Ptolemaios is king, Ptolemaios, yes, so the name is Ptolemaios. So, Agathocles, while Ptolemaios IV is king, he has a intrigue rating of 4, which is good only for one thing, and that is stirring up shit in court and potentially killing people in court intrigue. Brother of concubine, he is going to be in a lot of trouble. And then we have Theodotos. Theodotos is pretty good, and, well, given that he is the only guy, apart from our king, who can do a military campaign, has a military rating, we could use him in case we have a war situation, some kind of military clash with Seleucids, somewhere here. Coele Syria, for example. There's just one problem. His loyalty rating is 4. And if we look at the ability of Antiochos, may once per campaign pay 8 talents, check intrigue to bring one Ptolemaic friend present in the target satrapy and whose loyalty is 4 or less to defect to Seleucids with half of the Ptolemaic places there. Yes, that guy is going to be a problem. I should possibly use him for, like, suppressing some rebellion if it happens, but definitely not, like, the main battle thing. Also, since I have the companion book here, most of these characters have historical background, and the one for Ptolemaios IV, Philopator, actually takes up half a page. So, I think it's even more for other characters, but I don't want to read it for everyone. Still, let's introduce our main hero. Our hero for the first 4 turns of the game. The game is 11 turns, and this guy is going to die possibly on turn 4, most likely. But he could die slightly earlier, he could die slightly later, though both of these is unlikely. And, as I said, this is our best king. Everything else is going to suck. Okay, I found it. Ptolemaios IV, Philopator. Historical background. Ptolemaios, the fourth of his name, inherited gigantic shoes to fill when he came to the Lagged throne in 222, his 3 forebears and predecessors having made the Ptolemaic kingdom the former successor state of Alexander. His father, Ptolemaios III Evergetes, enjoyed a great military reputation, having taken advantage of a Seleucid succession crisis to successfully campaign in northern Syria, Cilicia, and even possibly all the way to Babylon, from which he had brought back statues of Egyptian gods captured centuries ago by the Persian king Cambyses. He had also taken over most of the coastal possessions of the Seleucids, turning the eastern Mediterranean and Aegean into a Ptolemaic lake, only challenged to some extent by the still much diminished Antigonid kingdom of Macedon. Ptolemaios IV epithet, Philopator, he who loves his father, shows how important it was to stress the link with his glorious father. Ptolemaios IV's accession must also have been somewhat traumatic, since the Lagged chief minister, the ruthless Sosibios, proceeded to undertake a thorough purge of his immediate family, including his mother, brother, and uncle, to secure his position. The extent to which Ptolemaios was party to this massacre is unknown. Polybios suggests it was at his instigation. In any case, he found himself immediately challenged by another young king, Antiochus III of the Seleucids, who launched the first invasion of Coele-Syria, the first of many, only to be blocked by the fortified lines of the Lagged governor Theodotos. 2 years later, in 2019, Antiochus renewed his attempt, taking advantage of the defection of a disgruntled Theodotos. The strong fortifications of the coastal cities and some nifty diplomacy of Sosibios brought Ptolemaios time to recruit and train a large army built from clerics, mercenaries, and, for the first time, native Egyptians. Ptolemaios led this army along the Sinai coast road to challenge Antiochus at Raphia, south of Gaza, in 2017, in the largest battle of the time. There, Antiochus's inexperience and the numbers of the Ptolemaic phalanx, as well as probably the skills and steadiness of the many veteran officers in Ptolemaios' service, brought Ptolemaios a resounding victory, allowing him to force on Antiochus a status quo peace, with the exception of the great city fortress of Seleucia in Pieria, the port of Antioch that Antiochus had recaptured early in the war. Now secure on his northern land border, Ptolemaios appears to have abstained from further military adventures, much like his father before him. Ancient historians strongly hint of laziness and overindulgence to explain this, mentioning his pursuit of therife, a complex concept mixing luxury, prosperity, and debauchery, but this concept was certainly perceived more positively in Hellenistic Egypt than it was in Rome or with modern audiences, as it demonstrated the wealth and power of the Ptolemaic kings. Still, Ptolemaios was active diplomatically in mainland Greece, in the Aegean, and in Sicily, aiming to repair the effects of the Cleomenian War and the shift of the Achaean League to the Macedonian alliance, with limited success. The main reason for his apparent lack of activity was a flare-up of revolts in Egypt itself, beginning a few years after Raphia, culminating in an indigenous rebel capturing Thebes, the ancient pharaoh's capital in Upper Egypt, and crowning himself pharaoh under the name of Horwenefer. Despite repeated efforts by Ptolemaic forces, he would only be crushed and captured in 186. Starting at least with Polybius, the military training and subsequent growth in confidence of the native Egyptians has been seen as the key factor in the extent and success of these revolts, though the extremely exploitative regime imposed by the Ptolemies is certainly also to blame, and would have long-lasting consequences. While the native revolt was ongoing, Ptolemaios IV died suddenly in 204, aged 40. The exact circumstances remain murky. Some sources say that Ptolemaios' sister wife, Arsinoe III, had died shortly before him, possibly assassinated, on the instigation of his mistress, Agathoclea. Some later sources mention a fire in the palace. Ptolemaios also appears to have led a rather unhealthy life and may have died of health complications. His death was kept secret for some time until his 6-year-old son Ptolemaios V was proclaimed king with Sosibios as regent. So this is not going to be a big happy family. Oh, by the way, the text mentioned that his brother was killed to secure his place on the throne. Well, this is his brother, whom we're also not getting because he's part of the alternative setup. He's 5th in line for the throne. He is Magas. He's got a better military rating, worse diplomacy, worse admin, high intrigue. Yeah, we're not getting this guy, although he would have been a perfect military king for when this guy dies, because, hey, Magas is not supposed to die until 10-9. But we're not getting him. We're getting this dude. So, anything else to cover here? Oh, right. The way this game operates is kind of simple. We have this deck of event cards, and 6 of them are so-called recurring events, which are like this one. They have something happening in the world, usually random. Like this, for example. Yes, something happens randomly. Then there is a small section for triggering a minor mechanism, which may or may not happen in the course of a turn. For example, this one results in some fleets potentially sinking, because the wood rots and ships need to be replaced, so we'll have to buy them with money. And at the bottom of the card, there is the order in which all players and Rome take their action. That's pretty much it. And eventually, there are also cards which, with unique events, which are added to the deck every turn. Every turn has its own set of special events. And some of these cards might not come out of the deck, because the turn ends on the Winter Quarters cards. There's just one thing. We have to first see 4 recurring events before Winter Quarters does anything. So if we draw it earlier, we just put it back into the deck. This is a mechanism that's clearly been playtested online using Tabletop Simulator or Vassal, because in the physical space, it does get really annoying when you draw one recurring card, when Winter Quarters, then something else, then another Winter Quarters, and you have to reshuffle it back into the deck all the time. And it works much better, as people have figured out, to just keep it out of the deck until you've drawn 4 recurring events. So anyway, yes, this is how it's going to go. There is a lot of things to do, but we are getting at most 6 actions per turn. And also we're further limited by the abilities of our characters. So if we want to do some military stuff, we can only do two things with Theodotos, because he can be activated and then spent. We can do one thing with our king, Ptolemaios, and that's it. We cannot do anything more militarily. In this case, Seleucids have it better, have it much easier, and so does Macedon. And at the very least, yes, a turn can end after only 4 actions, so best not to plan any complicated plans. It might not work out. Also, a big source of pressure in this game are various random events, so even if we don't have a full-on military confrontation with Seleucids, even if the bot decides to do something else and just feels more interested in suppressing the rebellion or going up north, we're still going to be hit pretty badly, probably, by something in that deck. Very surprising. The text on the back of the box warns you that people here don't like our presence, and they are going to make it known. And so hopefully we'll survive. The Roman invasion, because that's one of the things that's going to happen almost inevitably in this game. Although, I should mention that there is a small chance that Hannibal wins the Punic War, the Second Punic War, and that just removes Rome from the game as an entity and completely disables all Roman mechanisms, which is a thing this game lets you do. That's actually pretty cool, with some counter-historical what-ifs. I'm pretty sure one of the reasons Macedon survived my previous game is because it chanced into having the king that absolutely refused to do anything against Romans. Historically, Macedon went the other way with his brother, but my game, they just survived. Also, of course, another thing that happened in my game, wasn't this king, but I think one of his successors. But anyways, some guy in my court killed my king in court intrigue, and then, I believe, defected, and ran off, ended up in the court of Macedon, and Macedon at that point was itself feeling some shortage of manpower, so after some round of court intrigue or some other deaths, that guy who killed my king ended up becoming chief minister of Macedon. The bastard. Meanwhile, I got to end turn 10 of the game with literally no named characters in my court. There are 3 replacement cards. We have, replacements, Socrates. Yes, so 3 guys we can draw from the deck, in case we have less than 3 characters at court. I had to use all 3 of them. Just random dudes taking care of all the business until turn 11 started, and I got the final round of historical characters for Ptolemaios, for the Ptolemaic dynasty. And man, I wish I could keep the replacements, because the final set of characters we get is going to be awful. Effectively, we have 10 turns. Turn 11 is going to be even worse than everything leading up to it. And this is a game about putting a lot of resources, investing a lot of resources into staying in place, and that's how you get ahead of everyone else, by staying in place. Because this is Twilight of the Hellenistic world. It's going to be a disaster for everyone involved, except for the Romans. And this is like the cut version of the game, the cut down version of the game, because, well, there are the designer notes in the companion book, and apparently it took 12 years to make. And many things had to be simplified or cut or modified, so many ideas. I think this may have helped the game, like, help pick the most interesting period of history for the game, so it doesn't feel like bloated like Crusader Kings or something. And also the designer is saying that she may do an expansion, like a prequel, the part that she cut from the game at like the last moment. I'd be looking forward to that. Also, like, these 12 years, the designer managed to make another game on a completely different subject. And probably transition too. I think that happened during the period. So, yeah, this is Hubris. Yes, I'll try to do a Let's Play, but Hubris is the word that is frequently mentioned around this game. In the designer notes, and in pretty much everything that involves it. It's going to be a disaster one way or another, whether I remember all the rules or forget some of them. This is a game about the Greek world collapsing in on itself. Well, let's see how it goes.